Have you ever wondered why you feel emotionally drained after spending time with certain people, even though they're supposed to be close to you? If you're an INFJ, this feeling hits different, and there's a very good reason why protecting your inner circle isn't just important, it's absolutely critical for your mental health and personal growth. Today, we're diving deep into the types of people that can seriously damage an INFJ's well-being when they're allowed too close. This isn't about being judgmental or exclusive. It's about understanding your unique needs as an INFJ and creating boundaries that actually work. 1. The energy vampire who never gives back. Let's start with the most obvious red flag, the energy vampire. Now, we're not talking about someone who occasionally needs support during tough times. We're talking about that person who consistently drains your emotional battery without ever offering anything in return. As an INFJ, you're naturally empathetic. You feel other people's emotions deeply, sometimes even more than they feel them themselves. This makes you a magnet for people who want to dump their problems without taking any responsibility for solving them. The energy vampire shows up in your life with the same complaints, week after week, month after month. They ask for advice but never take it. They want you to listen to their problems but disappear when you need someone to talk to. They treat you like an emotional dumping ground rather than a valued friend. Here's what makes this particularly dangerous for INFJs. Your natural tendency to want to help everyone means you'll keep giving until you've got nothing left. You'll rationalize their behavior, make excuses for them, and convince yourself that this time will be different. But here's the truth, it won't be different. Energy vampires don't change because they don't want to change. They've found someone who'll enable their emotional dependency, and they'll milk it for all it's worth. The warning signs are clear. They only call when they need something. Conversations always center around their problems. They get defensive or dismissive when you try to set boundaries. They make you feel guilty for not being available 24/7. 2. The manipulator who exploits your kindness. INFJs have this beautiful quality, they see the potential in everyone. Unfortunately, some people will exploit this gift for their own gain. The manipulator recognizes your empathetic nature and uses it as a weapon against you. This person has mastered the art of emotional manipulation. They know exactly which buttons to push to make you feel guilty, responsible, or obligated to help them. They've studied your patterns and learned how to trigger your desire to fix things and help people. Manipulators are incredibly skilled at playing the victim. When things don't go their way, it's never their fault. They'll twist situations to make you feel like you're the problem. They'll use phrases like, "If you really cared about me," or "I thought you were different," to guilt you into compliance. What's particularly insidious about manipulators is how they target your core INFJ values. They know you value authenticity, so they'll accuse you of being fake when you set boundaries. They know you hate conflict, so they'll create drama whenever you try to stand up for yourself. The damage a manipulator can do to an INFJ's psyche is immense. They'll make you question your own perceptions, doubt your instincts, and feel guilty for having needs. Over time, you'll start to believe that your worth as a person depends on how much you sacrifice for others. These people are masters of gaslighting. They'll deny conversations that happened, claim you misunderstood their intentions, and make you feel crazy for remembering things differently. They'll rewrite history to suit their narrative and expect you to go along with it. 3. The drama creator who thrives on chaos. INFJs crave peace and harmony in their relationships. We naturally try to create calm, meaningful connections with the people we care about. This is why drama creators are particularly toxic for our well-being. The drama creator can't exist without chaos. They'll manufacture problems where none exist, blow small issues out of proportion, and turn every minor disagreement into a major crisis. They feed off the emotional intensity and confusion they create. What makes this especially harmful for INFJs is our natural inclination to try to restore harmony. When drama erupts, we immediately go into fix-it mode. We'll try to mediate, find compromises, and smooth things over. But here's the catch. The drama creator doesn't want resolution. They want the drama to continue. These people will involve you in conflicts that have nothing to do with you. They'll share inappropriate details about their fights with others, expecting you to take sides. They'll create triangulation, where they're telling you one thing about another person while telling that person something completely different about you. Drama creators also have a tendency to create self-fulfilling prophecies. They'll accuse people of not caring about them, then behave in ways that push those people away. When the relationship inevitably fails, they point to the outcome as proof they were right all along. The constant emotional turbulence is exhausting for INFJs. We need calm, stable relationships to recharge and function at our best. When our inner circle is filled with drama, we never get the emotional rest we desperately need. 4. The boundary pusher who won't take no for an answer. Boundaries are crucial for INFJ well-being, but they're also something we struggle with. We're naturally accommodating and hate disappointing people. This makes us vulnerable to boundary pushers, people who simply refuse to respect our limits. The boundary pusher sees your no as a starting point for negotiation. When you say you're not available to hang out, they'll keep pushing until you give in. When you express discomfort with certain topics, they'll bring them up anyway and claim they forgot about your boundaries. These people often disguise their boundary violations as jokes or playful teasing. They'll make inappropriate comments and then claim you're being too sensitive when you object. They'll invade your physical space and act surprised when you pull away. What's particularly frustrating about boundary pushers is how they make you feel like the unreasonable one. They'll act confused about why you're upset, as if your clearly stated boundaries were somehow unclear or negotiable. For INFJs, dealing with boundary pushers is especially draining because it forces us into conflict, something we naturally try to avoid. We'll often give in just to keep the peace, which only teaches them that our boundaries aren't real and can be worn down with enough persistence. Over time, this erodes our sense of self-worth and autonomy. We start to believe that our needs don't matter and that we don't have the right to set limits on how others treat us. 5. The competitive friend who can't celebrate your success. Healthy friendships involve mutual support and celebration of each other's achievements. But some people simply can't handle it when good things happen to you. The competitive friend sees your success as their failure and your happiness as a threat to their own. This person will minimize your achievements, find flaws in your good news, or quickly redirect the conversation back to themselves. When you get a promotion, they'll focus on how stressful the new job will be. When you're excited about a new relationship, they'll point out all the potential problems. The competitive friend keeps score in ways that are both obvious and subtle. They'll compare everything: who has the better job, the nicer home, the more interesting social life. They can't simply be happy for you because they're too busy measuring how your success affects their own status. What makes this particularly painful for INFJs is that we genuinely want to celebrate the people we care about. We get excited about their achievements and want to share in their joy. When someone can't return that energy, it creates an imbalance that feels deeply wrong to us. These people also tend to be fair-weather friends. They're available when you're struggling because it makes them feel better about their own situation. But when you're thriving, they suddenly become busy or distant. 6. The emotional roller coaster who lacks stability. INFJs need emotional consistency in their close relationships. We're already dealing with our own complex inner world. We can't handle someone whose mood and behavior are constantly unpredictable. The emotional roller coaster person swings between extreme highs and lows without warning. One day they're your best friend, telling you how much you mean to them. The next day they're cold, distant, or angry about something you can't identify. This inconsistency is particularly harmful for INFJs because we internalize other people's emotions. When someone in our inner circle is unstable, we feel responsible for their emotional state. We'll exhaust ourselves trying to figure out what we did wrong or how we can fix the situation. The roller coaster person often has untreated mental health issues or unresolved trauma that they're not addressing. While this deserves compassion, it doesn't mean you should sacrifice your own well-being to accommodate their instability. These relationships keep you in a constant state of anxiety. You never know which version of the person you're going to encounter. You'll find yourself walking on eggshells, constantly monitoring their mood and adjusting your behavior accordingly. 7. The shallow connector who avoids deep conversations. INFJs thrive on deep, meaningful connections. Surface-level relationships feel empty and unfulfilling to us. This is why having someone in your inner circle who actively avoids depth is so problematic. The shallow connector is comfortable with small talk but shuts down the moment conversations get real. They'll change the subject when you try to discuss meaningful topics. They're more interested in gossip than genuine sharing. They prefer talking about what someone wore rather than how someone's feeling. This person often has their own reasons for avoiding depth. Maybe they're afraid of vulnerability or they've been hurt in the past. But their inability to go deeper means they can't meet your fundamental need for authentic connection. When you try to share something important with the shallow connector, you'll often feel misunderstood or dismissed. They might respond with platitudes or immediately shift focus to something superficial. This leaves you feeling more alone than if you hadn't shared at all. Over time, having shallow connectors in your inner circle will leave you feeling emotionally starved. You'll have people around you, but no one who really gets you or wants to explore the deeper aspects of life that fascinate you. 8. The critic who disguises judgment as concern. Some people have a talent for making their criticism sound like caring. The critic who disguises judgment as concern is particularly dangerous because their negativity is wrapped in what appears to be good intentions. This person always has something to say about your choices, your appearance, your relationships, or your decisions. But they frame their criticism as worry or helpful advice. They'll say things like, "I'm just concerned about you," while proceeding to tear down your confidence. The disguised critic often targets areas where INFJs are already insecure. They know we tend to be perfectionists and self-critical, so they'll pile on additional doubts and concerns. They'll question your judgment, your capabilities, and your worth in ways that feel helpful on the surface but are actually deeply undermining. What makes this particularly harmful is that INFJs often internalize criticism, especially when it comes from people we trust. We'll replay their words in our heads, wondering if they're right about our flaws and shortcomings. These people rarely offer constructive solutions or genuine support. They're more interested in pointing out problems than helping you solve them. Their criticism often stems from their own insecurities or need to feel superior. 9. The inconsistent communicator who leaves you guessing. Clear, honest communication is essential for INFJs. We need to understand where we stand with people and what to expect from our relationships. The inconsistent communicator makes this impossible. This person sends mixed signals constantly. Their words don't match their actions. They'll say they value your friendship but never make time for you. They'll claim they're honest and direct but leave you reading between the lines constantly. The inconsistent communicator often uses passive-aggressive behavior instead of direct communication. They'll give you the silent treatment instead of explaining what's wrong. They'll make sarcastic comments instead of addressing issues directly. They'll agree to plans and then cancel at the last minute without explanation. This behavior is particularly frustrating for INFJs because we're natural pattern seekers. We'll spend enormous amounts of mental energy trying to decode their behavior and figure out what they really mean. This is exhausting and prevents us from focusing on more important things. The lack of clarity also triggers our anxiety. We need to know where we stand so we can feel secure in our relationships. When someone's communication is consistently unclear, we're left in a constant state of uncertainty. 10. The people pleaser who can't be authentic. While this might seem contradictory, having a people pleaser in your inner circle can be just as problematic as having someone who's openly difficult. The people pleaser agrees with everything you say, goes along with all your plans, and never expresses their own needs or opinions. At first, this might seem ideal. Finally, someone who doesn't create conflict. But authentic relationships require honest disagreement sometimes. When someone never pushes back, never offers different perspectives, and never shares their true feelings, the relationship becomes one-dimensional. The people pleaser often harbors secret resentment because they're constantly sacrificing their own needs. This resentment can explode unexpectedly, leaving you confused about what went wrong. You thought everything was fine because they never expressed any dissatisfaction. As an INFJ, you need friends who can be genuinely themselves around you. You want to know the real person, not just the version they think you want to see. When someone is constantly performing instead of being authentic, it prevents true intimacy from developing. People pleasers also can't provide the honest feedback that helps you grow. They'll tell you what they think you want to hear rather than what you need to hear. This deprives you of the genuine input that could help you make better decisions. 11. The gossip who betrays trust and spreads secrets. Trust is the foundation of any meaningful relationship, and it's especially important for INFJs. We're selective about who we open up to, and when we do share our inner thoughts and feelings, we expect that information to be treated with respect. The gossip can't keep anything to themselves. They'll share your personal information with others, often under the guise of seeking advice or expressing concern. They see your secrets as social currency and spend them freely to make themselves seem more interesting or important. What's particularly damaging about gossips is that they often don't see the harm they're causing. They'll claim they're just sharing with people who care about you, or they'll say they didn't think it was a big deal. But the impact on trust is devastating. Once you discover that someone has been sharing your private information, it's nearly impossible to feel safe opening up to them again. This is especially painful for INFJs because we share so selectively. When someone betrays that trust, it feels like a fundamental violation. Gossips also create an atmosphere of paranoia in social circles. You start to wonder what they're saying about you when you're not around. You begin to filter what you share, which prevents authentic connection from developing. The damage extends beyond just your relationship with the gossip. Once your private information is out there, you can't control how it's interpreted or used by others. This loss of control over your personal narrative is particularly distressing for INFJs. 12. The narcissist who makes everything about themselves. Narcissistic individuals are particularly dangerous for INFJs because they exploit our natural empathy and desire to help others. They see our caring nature as an opportunity to secure a reliable source of attention and validation. The narcissist in your inner circle will gradually make every conversation about themselves. When you share good news, they'll either one-up you with their own story or find a way to make your achievement about them. When you're struggling, they'll minimize your problems or redirect attention to their own issues. These people have an insatiable need for admiration and validation. No amount of support, praise, or attention is ever enough. They'll constantly demand more while giving very little in return. They see relationships as transactions where they receive benefit without providing equal value. What makes narcissists particularly harmful for INFJs is their lack of genuine empathy. While they might understand emotions intellectually and use that understanding to manipulate, they don't actually feel concern for your well-being. This creates a fundamentally unbalanced relationship. Narcissists also tend to be highly critical of others while being extremely sensitive to any criticism themselves. They'll point out your flaws and mistakes while becoming defensive or aggressive when their behavior is questioned. Over time, being close to a narcissist will erode your self-esteem and sense of reality. They're experts at making you feel like you're overreacting, being too sensitive, or asking for too much. This gaslighting can be incredibly damaging to your mental health. 13. The chronic liar who destroys trust foundations. Honesty isn't just preferred for INFJs, it's absolutely essential. We have strong intuitive abilities that often pick up on deception, even when we can't quite put our finger on what's wrong. Having a chronic liar in your inner circle creates constant internal conflict. The chronic liar doesn't just lie about big things. They lie about small, seemingly insignificant details. They'll embellish stories, exaggerate their achievements, or create entirely fictional scenarios. They lie even when the truth would serve them better. This constant dishonesty creates an atmosphere where you can never fully relax or trust what you're hearing. You'll find yourself fact-checking their stories or looking for inconsistencies. This is mentally exhausting and prevents genuine intimacy from developing. Chronic liars often have different motivations for their behavior. Some lie to make themselves seem more interesting or important. Others lie to avoid consequences or responsibility. Some lie simply out of habit without any clear benefit. Regardless of their motivation, the impact on you is the same. You'll start to question everything they tell you. You'll wonder what else they've lied about. This doubt and suspicion are toxic to the trust that INFJs need in their close relationships. The presence of a chronic liar also affects your ability to trust your own perceptions. When someone consistently lies to you with conviction, you might start to doubt your intuitive sense that something is off. How to spot these red flags early? Trust your gut. If you consistently feel drained, anxious, or off after spending time with someone, that's your INFJ intuition working overtime. Don't dismiss these feelings as oversensitivity. Watch patterns across different situations. Notice how they treat others, especially people who can't benefit them. Pay attention to whether they respect your boundaries the first time you set them. Creating your protective boundaries. Define your non-negotiables clearly. What behaviors will you absolutely not tolerate? Communicate these boundaries directly. Don't hint and hope people will figure it out. Be prepared to enforce consequences when boundaries are crossed. Some people will test your limits, especially if you've been accommodating in the past. Stay firm, your peace of mind depends on it. Why quality beats quantity every time? INFJs aren't meant for large social circles. We're designed for deep, meaningful connections. 3 genuine friends who truly get you are worth more than 30 superficial relationships. Quality relationships energize you instead of draining you. They provide safety, understanding, and mutual support. They allow you to be completely authentic without fear of judgment. Your energy is sacred, protect it. Your empathy and emotional capacity aren't unlimited resources. Every minute you spend managing toxic people is energy you're not investing in yourself, your goals, or the people who actually deserve your attention. Remember, you're not being mean by having standards. You're being wise. You're not being selfish by protecting your peace. You're being responsible for your own well-being. Conclusion. Your inner circle shapes your reality more than you realize. The wrong people will drain your energy, dim your light, and make you question your own worth. The right people will energize you, support your growth, and help you become the best version of yourself. Stop feeling guilty about being selective. Your sensitivity isn't a weakness to be managed, it's a superpower to be protected. Choose people who see your depth as a gift, not a burden. You deserve relationships that add to your life, not subtract from it. Your peace of mind is worth more than any relationship that costs you your sanity. protect it fiercely.